Hello and welcome to manredFC. Now this is the preview for Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. So if you're not a United fan, then you might not want to watch. If you're a Palace fan, you might not want to watch. So obviously I'm looking at Manchester United. We're ready, we're back, it's time. We've got to win. I mean, the summer that we've obviously still going through is just dragging, isn't it? It's the excitement and the morale just seems to be so low amongst fans, and I'll do a separate video about why I think that is. But I think if we don't win today, let's get this straight. People's morale is going to be through the floor, and I think there's going to be a lot of complaining going on. So I think it's actually a huge game. Obviously, reading about the match today, Paul Pogba and Luke Shaw both supposedly fit and in contention for the match, and obviously Donny van de Beek is obviously in contention as well. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he settled really well. He's a smashing boy, and he played really well against Villa. I didn't see much of the game against Villa. Obviously, not many of us may not have. Does that make sense? Not many of us did, unless you've got MUTV, which I used to have. I don't anymore. Awful. So he said he's likely, or we're likely, to see him against Palace. Does that mean we're going to start him? I think we are. I think we are. And the reason I think we are is because I don't think Paul Pogba's starting. Because he had coronavirus, he's been out for a few weeks, he's probably only been training for a few days. So I don't think Paul Pogba will start, which means obviously Van der Beek will come in. So we'll go through the lineup. I'm going to get it to my right, your left maybe if it's reversed. Now the interesting decision obviously from the start is that who goes in goal. I love the fact personally that we've got Dean Henderson and De Gea in the club. I know some don't because it's 500 grand a week's worth of goalkeeper on the bench, but who gives a fuck really? It's, there are players, it's not our money, we don't spend it. And obviously the Glazers are dragging their heels so much over signings that why not keep the players in? Well, I disagree on how much David De Gea is on, but if we got him, why not? It does mean we've got to get rid of Romero though, sadly. I would start David De Gea, just because of the transitions and the continuity of him playing for us. And Dean Henderson can watch the game. I don't think you can throw Dean in, because if you throw him in and we make an error, a howler, and he concedes, then the fan base is on a knife edge that they will just throw him under the bus immediately. And then there'll be the counter argument, and then it'll just be a stupid divide in the fan base. So avoid that problem. Start De Gea. He's already been working with the whole team for years. Maguire and Lindelof have had a season with him. Just start it with him, just to keep that continuity, which obviously then links into the hint of how I see our backline. Continuing the theme of consistency, Wan-Bissaka obviously starts at right back. He's had Zaha's number whenever he's played him, and Zaha's their biggest threat. So Wan-Bissaka has to start because he's so good going back. I'm hoping to see an improvement with him going forward this time and actually overlapping our right winger, who I'll talk about in a second. Obviously, alongside Wan-Bissaka, Spider-Wan, the greatest tackler of all time, is we've got the Iceman. So the man that's quite cool and contentious. Well, not contentious, but quite composed. Can play the ball out from the back quite nicely. I think he's actually better than Maguire doing this. So I'd have Lindelof there. I really do like Lindelof. Is he a top echelon centre-back? No. Is Maguire? No. Do they work as a partnership that's going to win you a title or a Champions League? No. But who else have we got? Chris Smalling? Well, yeah, we have actually. But is he going to Roma? Surely. If he is, get rid of him. What are we doing? 2 million quid or whatever they're haggling over. Just sell him. What are you doing? Lindelof, Maguire next to him. Even though he's had his indiscretions in the summer, just play him. He's obviously really good in the air. He's solidified the role and he's the captain. So he has to play, even if you're thinking about not playing if he didn't. Obviously the questions that would ask, why is Maguire not in the team? Is it because he punched a police officer, Ollie? No, but those would be the questions. So Maguire has to start. I want a new left back. I don't really rate Luke Shaw personally. I think he's better than Brandon Williams because I think Brandon Williams is actually a right back, transported over to left back. So Brandon Williams always cuts in because he's right footed. So Luke Shaw's obviously better and he's quite good at reading a game. But I don't like how negative he is. You've got opportunities to overlap on the left flank all of the time. And he always gets to a point where he's either just next to Rashford, just beyond him, and he'll cut back. He'll play it inside. And you're like, don't. You're congesting the pitch. when you make the runs past the fullback, which he does do 2 or 3 times a game, which isn't enough, what do we think happens? Well, their defence is turned and we get an opportunity to actually get a strike on goal. He doesn't do it enough. It's confidence because he's quick, and although he's so up and down with his fitness, I think he's fit enough to do it. I don't know if I think his mentality's shot personally. I don't think he's got the mentality to be a top echelon left back. That's obviously why we were hinted Bruguli on, which didn't happen. And now supposedly Tellez, but we'll wait and see on that. Moving into the midfield, you obviously have to have Nemanja Matic at CDM. He was the best player for that role last season. Yeah, I think we need to improve on him and upgrade on him. And, if you've got someone like Partey or someone like that, then, he's a potential opportunity to sign, isn't he, for 50 million euros, but supposedly not. So we're going to continue with Matic for this season and potentially shoehorn Fred or McTominay into that position as well. But for the moment, you've got to stick to the experienced man that's done it for years and won Premier League titles doing it. So he sits in front of Maguire and Lindelof. And then I think you've got Van der Beek to his right, who can obviously do the more box-to-box work. Now, obviously, with Van der Beek, he's very good at passing, high energy, as Ollie said, and he arrives late into the box and can finish. So that's going to be a very important player to have, and I think actually we'll see more energy with him than we would with Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba, obviously, technically, is far superior than a lot of our players, but I think his mentality on occasion isn't as good as it should be. That's my opinion. Some will agree, some won't agree. So I actually think Van der Beek, if he hits the ground running, could make it hard for Paul Pogba to get back in. I really like industrious players. That's why I liked Ander Herrera, and I think Van der Beek's going to be a similar player with more of an attacking threat. So I can see him being really effective, if that is a better word. Obviously, Fernandes, he plays Bruno. We need someone to take the penalties, don't we? So he's obviously going to drift around left to right in behind the striker, get his shots off, get his free kicks off. So that'll be really nice. And I think Van der Beek kind of arriving late will allow Fernandes to have a bit more space because they're going to have to be aware of where Van der Beek's going. And they obviously can't mark 2 players at once. And Paul Pogba, although can do that, was playing a bit more of a withdrawn role, oddly, further behind, kind of next to Matic, which didn't make sense to me. It was like a 4-2-1, wasn't it? Where I think with Matic, it'd be a 4-1, and then Van der Beek and Fernandes would be a 2 ahead. So I think we're already more attacking just because of the nature of the players. On the right wing, well, it would have been someone else if we'd actually done our business on time. I still think we will get Jadon Sancho, but obviously not yet, for whatever reason. That's for another video, probably with a lot of alcohol present. Greenwood, I think he's fantastic. His emergence has made obviously we're bereft on the right wing. We know this. He isn't naturally a right winger, but he's done so well there and scored so many goals and contributed so well there that I'm less concerned. Like, let's say the world fell apart and we didn't sign a right winger, I wouldn't be distraughtly panicking about who's going to play out there because we have got Mason Greenwood. Now, if he got injured and Dan James was out there, yes, I'd be having a heart attack. But if he can stay fit, Mason Greenwood, then he obviously keeps that role unless we get Jadon Sancho or that ilk in. So he'll start. I would like to see him going down the line a bit more. I know he likes to cut in and shoot, but I just want to see that dynamic added to his game and crossing in maybe a bit more. But that can then be assisted by Wan-Bissaka overlapping. Similar to Shaw, doesn't do it enough. But when he does do it, has become quite effective. Got a few assists at the end of last season, so I'd like to see that. Obviously, Rashford goes out to the left. Now, after lockdown, I thought Marcus was extremely poor. He did have a back injury, a really bad back injury. So, it takes time to recover from. And again, we thrust him into the games and he's always going to play. He's a United fan. It's like one of us putting the shirt on. We'll play through, broken eyeballs. We just play. And he will. And obviously he didn't look at it. And because he's always the most committed and he wasn't always tracking back, that made me think something's not right. Because I can't see a mentality issue with Marcus Rashford. He's not that sort of player. He's not a Jesse Lingard for me. He's someone that will always try his best. So he has to start on the left. Obviously, he can cut in and shoot. And hopefully he gets back to his best. Because he, at one point, was our highest contributor, wasn't he, with goals and assists. And we were kind of relying on him before the emergence of Greenwood and Fernandes coming in. Anthony Martial starts up front. Obviously, recently capped again for France and scoring, which is great news for him. I'm glad to see he's turned the corner, because my issue with Martial all the time was, we obviously know he's got the ability, but he was mercurial. He was kind of an enigma. He would be brilliant one week, and then the next week he'd be awful. He'd be walking, he'd be sulking, a bit like a Nelka in that way. But at his best, he's phenomenal. Quickest feet I've ever seen in the box, and obviously his conversion rate, goals to shots, is one of the highest in Europe. So you give him a chance and he tends to score. So he has to start, and I think he will score for us. So it'd be really nice to see him carrying on the season as he kind of left last. So that's my lineup against Crystal Palace. I think you'll see the usual offenders on the bench. Dean Henderson will obviously be our backup goalkeeper, but you'll have Pogba on there. And I think obviously Agala will be there, Daniel James, players like that, Scott McTominay. I'd like to see Andreas Pereira and Lingard just removed and sold now. I think it's time. And obviously what's happening with Rojo, I don't know. Jones has to go as well. So we've got to have Mengi, and Axel on the bench. Promote the youth for me now. Let's get rid of the players that are just collecting a wage. Even if it means we're not taking... I don't really understand what's going on there. I mean, that's for another video, but just get rid of them. So yeah, that was my lineup. That's kind of the bench I'm seeing, and I think we'll win 2-1. I don't think it'll be a straightforward game. I think we'll score first. I think Crystal Palace will equalise, and I think it'll be that odd, tentative dynamic where we get chances, we miss them, and then we kind of score towards the end. And I think it'll probably be a penalty, and we'll get mocked again online. But I think we will win. It'll be through a penalty potentially, but we'll win 2-1, and I think we'll get off to a positive start. And then hopefully the week afterwards will continue to be positive, and we'll see the addition of a few more players. Logic tells me, I'm not an ITK, and that's a separate video that I will do. ITKs, ridiculous. Just logic tells me I think we will sign 2 more. So let's hope that's the case. So thanks very much for watching, one and all, and hopefully my review in 8 hours time will be me going and not going. So I hope you enjoy the game. Let me know your thoughts, whether you agree with the team or not, and I will see you on the other side.